Greetings fellow adventurers, welcome to episode 7 of Battle Games in Middle-earth. I'm Mike from Hobbyit, your guide through today's crafting, painting and battling adventures. Today we're creating epic barriers, we're bringing Rohan Warriors to life with contrast paints and defending against a horde of Uruk-hai. Let's dive in. In this series we're exploring the 91 magazines released by Games Workshop that complement the epic Lord of the Rings movies. Each episode marks a chapter in our journey to complete each of the magazines. In Painting Workshop we've got 12 Rohan warriors from the magazine. I'll show you how to use contrast paints to bring these brave warriors to life. Next we'll get crafty with our modelling workshop. We're building some awesome barriers with walls and fences. We'll be using 3 different techniques. It's a lot of fun and it will add some great terrain to our growing collection. Our battle game this episode is Repel the Marauders. Imagine a horde of Uruk-hai rampaging across Rohan with a handful of brave warriors standing their ground to protect the villagers. Can they hold the line? It's going to be an epic battle. And don't miss the 90-second flip at the end of this video where you get to have a quick look through the entire magazine. For the skin, let's apply a layer of Gulliman flesh to the face, neck and hands. For the leather parts of the model, I'm using Garagak's sewer, mixed 50-50 with contrast medium, as on its own it's a very deep dark brown, so mixing it up creates a lighter tone and looks great as a leather. I'm using the same paint for the quiver and the bow. To provide a little difference to all the leather parts, apply Cygor brown, a much darker brown, with a red shade for the boots, belts and all the various straps on the model. The Rohan people are described as tall, blonde and mostly blue-eyed. I'm using a light skeleton horde for the hair. I didn't have a suitable green contrast paint for the cloaks, so I mixed up Caliban green with some contrast medium. I would say this was somewhat successful and it required a few coats until I was happy with the look. The helmet and the leather undershirt are a red shade, so I apply a red ink to adjust the colour. It looks quite bright when first applying, but dries much darker. I paint the arrow fletching with Space Wolf Grey. Apologies for the focus here, apparently it really didn't want to focus on the metallics. I use a base of lead belcher on all metallics, followed up by a wash of Nuln Oil. For the base, I wanted a rocky meadow or field look. For the grass, I'm trying a new technique. Instead of using my static grass applicator to pour over the grass, I'm going to use Mod Podge and place the model upside down into the applicator. This worked really well and something I'll do in the future when basing my models. As a final touch, adding some dry pigments to the base and the lower edges of the cloak and boots. I batch paint up the remaining 11 models using the exact same procedures, using Balthazar Gold for the gold parts. I've been working on updating my display cases. Each one now has a stand where I can match the base of the models, along with a stats card that I can use when playing the models. For the foam wall, I'm using this dense blue foam. It cuts nicely with a knife or a hot wire cutter. It also takes impressions really well. I cut up a number of pieces to be roughly 1 inch wide and 6 inch long. I did get a little carried away and created far too many walls. In a previous video I received a comment about using an old ballpoint pen. As a person always open to learn and try new things, I thought I would give it a go for this version and it worked out really well. Score lines all around the foam to form the lines of the stone, making sure to continue the lines around the edges. Once the horizontal lines are completed, apply the vertical lines in the same way. With all the lines pressed into the foam, take a rock with some rough edges and beat up the foam to give it a rock-like texture. Applying an undercoat of black, I'm using Vallejo primer, and then mix up a light grey. I grab a pot of whatever black and white I have to hand and create a light grey colour, and using a dry brush apply it all over the wall pieces. This actually creates a nice look and you could definitely stop here. If you wanted to add some additional depth and colour, we can use washes. I grabbed my inks, black, skin wash and black grey, and switching between the colours, start to randomly pick stones. You don't have to be too precise, the more the colours mix, the better it looks. Once dry, apply a dry brush again and your wall section is complete. I also took a knife and damaged and cut out a few sections of a few of the wall pieces prior to painting to create some damaged walls that models can pass through without having to make a dice check. I've designed printable A4 sheets that double as cutting guides. I'm using thick card rather than cardboard. Carefully cut out all the pieces from the printable sheet and card. Remember, we only need one side for each post and fence rail, since we'll stick paper to the front and back. I'm using a glue stick to attach the paper to the card. It's quick, easy and dries fast. To attach the post to the base, I'm using super glue and a spray accelerator to speed up drying. This method is more than enough to securely hold the posts. For the rails, use super glue and the spray accelerator as well. These barriers come together quickly once all the cutting is done. If you need quick, throwaway barriers, these are a great option. In the battle game for Magazine 7, we are playing Repel the Marauders. A vicious swarm of Uruk-hai rampages across Rohan, pillaging farms and homesteads, killing the defenceless Rohirrim villagers. This PAX battle game focuses on the plight of one such Rohirrim farmstead. Already the victim of an Uruk-hai raid, the survivors have hastily gathered and prepare to flee to the safety of Helm's Deep. However, the few Warriors of Rohan that have been assigned to protect the refugees fear another enemy attack is imminent. The sentries raise the alarm as the Uruk-hai advance on the village. Panic spreads through the refugees. Can the few defending Warriors of Rohan protect them? That's a wrap for Magazine 7. The Warriors of Rohan are ready for display. They'll be joining our growing collection. Next time we're cracking open Magazine 8. We'll be painting Legolas. We'll be creating some lush trees and forests. And we're following Legolas as he fights to save Frodo from the goblins of Moria. Plus we'll expand our rules knowledge with some missile weapons from crossbows to throwing axes. A big thank you to everyone who watches, likes and comments. Your support really means a lot. And a special shout out to my amazing patrons for your incredible support. Stay tuned for the 90-second flip and I'll see you next time. Until then, happy crafting and gaming.